Good morning. Welcome to the Real United Kingdom. This morning I want to speak very briefly about the Nottinghill Carnival Festival. Already, for those of you who are studying about life in the United Kingdom, this particular talk would fit into the section a modern thriving country. The Nottingham Carnival is a festival that was started in the 1960s in the Notting Hill Gate area. For those of you who don't know where Notting Hill is, it's in London. Recently there was a great fire, the Grenfell Towers fire, that gives some perspective on the location of where the carnival takes place. So the Notting Hill Carnival is now London's, or rather Europe's, biggest festival. And once again, we're now in the month of August, and once again, the discussions about the carnival started to take place. You can hear it. There's quite a fierce debate as to whether the carnival should take place, whether it should be put in a park, or whether it should exist at all. This is an annual conversation that takes place. Now, this is my position. The carnival was started in the 60s following very severe race riots, and it was started by a woman called Claudia Jones. And it was an attempt to bring people of the community together. It started out as a very small event, to allow or to enable the local Caribbean people to celebrate an aspect of their culture, namely carnival festivals. Reeling or going forward or coming forward to the present, this festival has become Europe's biggest festival. However, and this is the bone of contention. When the carnival was first started, Notting Hill was a very ordinary working class area. There were slums. Many of the poorest people in London lived in the Notting Hill area. However, over time, the area has become gentrified. It's lots of it is quite expensive. And there is a sense that the people who own expensive homes in Notting Hill want the poorer people to leave. Now, this is made worse by the fact that there is this carnival which takes over the streets of Notting Hill. Now, if you know anything about Notting Hill, and I suppose you don't, because you might be watching this from abroad, Notting Hill is, the streets are narrow. Apart from, say, Ladbroke Grove, the streets are very, very narrow, but you've got this huge festival that takes place on its streets. And for that weekend, it's completely jam-packed. You've got up to 1 million people descending on that area. Over the years, the carnival has not sat easy with the establishment, the police, some local residents. There's always been that tension. And this festival or carnival has gone through phases where there has been almost open hostility on part of the police, to a point where it's now accepted that the carnival is here to stay. However, there's always the ongoing discussion as to whether it should remain where it is. Now, this is my position, and this is the position of many in the black community and many in the wider community. It's a local festival. The carnival was there long before it became a rich area. It's Europe's biggest street party, so to speak. Therefore, it brings in a lot of tourists. People come from far and wide, from the USA, from the Caribbean, across Europe, and it doesn't just attract people from the black communities. It attracts people of all colors, all shades. And if you if you attend, you will see that even the participants are from all colors and shades. Now, my point is I'm not discussing the content of the carnival, which is something I can do on another podcast or video. This is more about the discussion as to should it be there or shouldn't be there. Well, it should be there. And the local people want it. Some of the local people don't want it. Now, some people say that the carnival should be held in a park. There are problems with that. Now, the carnival is a street party. It's meant to be in the street. It's meant for people to occupy the streets and claim those roads and streets. The moment you put a carnival into the park, then in effect you've killed it. And there are people who are trying to kill the carnival. And every year you can hear people come up with the negatives. The first thing they'll say is, oh, there's been so many arrests. Oh, there's been so many robberies. The police spent such and such millions or thousands on policing the carnival. So always the negatives. And this is something, one of the not so good aspects of British life, which is sometimes to look at the glass half empty scenario rather than the glass half full. Now, the carnival does highlight the diversity of the United Kingdom. Now, that might be a problem for some people who want a white, homogeneous country. It's never going to be that way. But looking at it positively, the carnival does highlight diversity. It's not just black people that enjoy it. There's, as I said before, there's all shades and ages of people that enjoy the carnival. Yes, it's noisy. Yes, it's expensive to police, but it does bring in a lot of tourism, and it does put the United Kingdom on the map for that particular weekend. So, why not accept this festival and rise to the challenge and make it a part of the calendar? From the point of view of the establishment. The carnival is always going to be there. Now, the people who don't want it to be there always argue that it brings crime, and there's cuss and there's filth and there's dirt, etc. But you tell me which festival or occasion of that level doesn't bring these things. Every year there's um, at the end of the year, the New Year's Eve fireworks down by the Thames. That attracts thousands of people, and the amount of rubbish and filth that's left afterwards is phenomenal. But it's cleaned up. Nobody complains. Football marches. There's problems there. You got Glastonbury. They have their share of problems, but nobody really complains. And this is the problem. Because it's a black event, there are people who automatically seek to highlight the problems, and they'll point to the negatives, the policing, all sorts of things, pickpocketing, all of these things take place elsewhere. But there's another dimension to the opposition. Now, Notting Hill is now effectively a rich area, or rather there's a lot of rich, expensive property, and a lot of very wealthy people who own houses that a lot of ordinary people will never ever be able to afford. And we're talking about people in the professions who won't be able to afford those houses. And there's a feeling that these people who own these properties don't want poor people to live there. They don't want ordinary people to live there. And the carnival is just one thing that they would love to see the back of. However, the good news is that the carnival won't be going anywhere anytime soon. It's there to stay, because until all the ordinary people leave that area exclusively, there's going to be people who will organize the carnival. So I don't want this to be too long. It's probably already too long, but it's just my own comments on the carnival and people's views on it. So it will take place sometime in August. I'll give the date. I mean, I'll do a recording. I'll go there. I hope to go there and do a recording of what actually takes place at the carnival. People who want to come to visit may wish to know a bit more. But to end on a positive, if you follow the guidelines, the police do give guidelines. It's well signposted. It's easy to get to. If you follow the guidelines, which are, if you go into the crowds, protect your valuables. Don't go down there wearing all the expensive jewelry. Have your money well hidden. If you take those basic precautions, it's very, very safe. There's lots of police there. Lots of police. They've got police. The visible policing presence, and give them their credit. Over the years, the Met has learned to police this festival very, very well. But there's a lot of backup in the background. If you go on the side streets, they even bring in police from outer regions. So I remember going there a few years back, and the backup police they brought, these were not locals. You could tell. Some of these people came as far away as Wales. They were not locals, but they were there as a backup. It's incredibly safe. There are people who go down there to cause trouble, but as I said, the Met does know how to tackle these people. They know the troublemakers, and in many ways, they will pre-warn these people. In some cases, they're going to get a hold of these people. So, if you're going to go, take basic precautions. But I'll do something about that. But the point of this talk was this underlying opposition by certain elements, against the carnival. It's an annual thing, but as I said, on a positive note, this street party carnival isn't going anywhere, so it'll be there, and I do invite you to go and visit it, because that is it's a major contribution to the social calendar of the United Kingdom. There is no bigger street festival or street party anywhere in Europe. So if you like what you've heard, subscribe, support, and as I always say, I live in the real United Kingdom, not the chocolate box variety. Over and out. Peace.